You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold. Today we welcome in Alexandra Tosado, owner and senior attorney at Ant Law Firm in Orlando, Florida, focusing on personal injury. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me here. I'm super excited.
Yeah, it's awesome. Especially you're sort of like like an old time Lawyer Stories person. And I mean that with a lot of endearment because we totally connected back almost when we started. So I've seen, I think when you graduated law school, through being at a big firm, a smaller firm, doing some cool things. So thank you for all your support along the way, with Lawyer Stories. It means a lot to me. Really cool.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. It's also been amazing seeing your page grow from the followers that you had in the beginning and now looking at everything that you've done over the time. It's been nice to see you do that as well. So it's cool.
Yeah, I know. It's like talking to an old friend. I love making that goal on the show, because some people have said that. So anyway, thanks for being here. Give us a little bit of background, born and raised.
Sure. So I'm an Orlando native. My parents are of Hispanic descent. So I was born and raised here. My mom, she works on the radio. She's a radio host personality. And my dad, he just owns several businesses. So we've been pretty much dialed in here in Orlando for most of my life. And when I decided to become an attorney when I was younger, I think my parents just motivated me so much by saying, hey, put yourself out there, talk to people, meet new people.
Yeah.
I think that's what led me to really nurture and build my relationships that led me to where I am today.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I definitely want to get there. I sort of missed it. What descent did you say?
Excuse me?
You were born, what you said, you're from so descent.
Hispanic descent. So both.
Hispanic. Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure we got that. That's great. So I think that's great what you said. Put yourself out there. That's such good advice from parents who, just when you tell me that, I could already tell they're fantastic parents and good influences. So tell me, did you have a moment when you knew you wanted to be a lawyer?
Yeah. So I remember being younger and just being with my family, and my family we'd watch TV or different shows and sitcoms, and I would always gravitate towards either a fictional character or a non-fictional personality that was in a position of power, but use that position of power to help other people. So I would watch Law and Order as
Gotcha.
6 or 7 years old, watching Law and Order, or even movies
Wow.
Legally Blonde and stuff like that. And I'd be obsessed and fascinated with becoming a lawyer. And I knew that that was the path for me. So I think I came to the realization at 6 that I wanted to be a lawyer. And it's funny because
wow, that's crazy.
And my parents actually found a picture that I drew when I was younger. And it was the sun and the beach and some birds. And it was I want to be a lawyer when I grow up. I don't know what kind, but I definitely want to be a lawyer.
That's amazing. You gotta slap that on your website. I love that.
I've been thinking about it.
You should. Or next when we feature you should make a second slide and we'll put that in there on the second slide. That would be sweet. I think that's wicked cool. And if you don't do that, you should definitely frame it and get it up in your office.
Yeah, I might actually.
Yeah, that's important stuff. That's good motivation. So you went through school in Florida. You're a Floridian. Tell us about your law school experience. That you went to A&M.
Yep.
Okay.
So I, fresh out of high school, I started working full time, interning at a law firm, and I was just super huge about my relationships. If there was someone that knew more than I did, or someone that I admired, or a case that was in trial, I was just, let's go for it. I want to meet them. I want to talk to them. I want to go observe. Can I email them? And so eventually I became connected in the legal community. And so I applied for law school. And when I applied, I had a tour of the school, and they basically offered me a very decent scholarship to go
Wow.
there,
Okay.
just because I was so connected to the community, and I was also a minority, and my GPA and my LSAT is exactly where it needed to be, and they were able to
Wow.
fund the first
Where
year.
is that in Orlando? FAMU? Yep. Do they call it FAMU? Is that like the no?
Yeah,
That's because every time I see like the FAMU, I just like automatically read that.
so it's an HBCU. It's like
Okay,
historically Black college. So
love that. That's cool.
yeah, it was a really great experience. I finished in 3 years. While I was there, I participated in different clinics, like
Yep. You
criminal
said
court.
so. You actually said something that was really interesting to me. Well, besides everything, obviously, but you said when you got your scholarship, they said that you think you got it because you were like connected in the community. Do you, so like can you expand upon that a little bit?
Yeah. So I applied, and then I just showed up there one day. I called and I'm like, hey, I applied. I want to meet the dean, or I want to take a tour of the campus. And they were like, sure. So I started talking to the dean and the administrative personnel. And they realized that I knew a lot of the people that worked there, a lot of their admin, many of the students. So I somehow it connected me when they had a certain amount of credits available to give to the students. They selected me right away because I had so much to offer for the school. So
Wow, that's awesome.
I was part of this program called like the All Stars. And so part of the initiative that they had to get me to go to the school, I mean, they took me to like Magic Games and Disney basically for us to like meet the academia, meet the students and get connected
Okay, I thought you were gonna say like they took you to the Magic Games to meet like
with
Shaquille O'Neal,
players.
but he was like, but he was probably that was like way before like your time
I
when
was
he was on
next
the
to
Magic.
him.
That's all. That was like he was on the Magic like way long ago.
In the
So
90s.
yeah, so never mind. I can't stop with these like dad jokes. Sometimes I get totally like called out for them. But so that's really cool. Like to because you had like knowledge enough, like going into law school, like you could actually use your community connections to get in. Like I feel like back then I didn't even think about stuff like that. Like I didn't. I mean, I went out of state, but that's really that's interesting. And you were a certified legal intern, right? So
Yeah.
like, how do you become a certified legal intern? And like, what part of your career was that?
Sure. So that was in law school.
Okay.
And I believe when you reach like a certain point in law school and you meet the qualifications, you get to basically apply, and you become, if you get approved, you're part of this internship program, but you could basically practice law and advocate for
Okay.
indigent clients, but with the school under the supervision of an attorney. So I mean, I was like in court trying cases, and I
Wow.
wasn't even a lawyer yet. Yeah, but it's overwhelming, but it's an amazing experience. It's
So
invaluable.
go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
I said it was invaluable. I loved it. Loved
Invaluable.
it.
And you were a paralegal for like 8 years, right? Like when, at what point of your life was that?
So after high school in 2000,
Okay.
I was 18 years old, and I knew that I wanted to go to school to become a lawyer, and I needed to get in a law firm. So I applied at a local law firm. They hired me, and I started off interning, making copies, filing papers, making coffee for people, basically getting pushed around. But it's like, it's weird because looking back, I enjoyed it. I knew it was part of the process. So it was
Yeah.
like, it was fun. Like, how can I overcome this next step? How can I overcome this next step? And so
So would you recommend somebody be a paralegal who might be sort of on the edge, like not quite there about going to law school and taking the risk? Like, is that a path you would recommend?
I think I would. I really would. I definitely, I would tell someone who's on the fence about becoming a lawyer is have friends that are lawyers. Like your network is your net worth.
Right.
Or people that you know and that are able to guide you and provide you with great advice
Right.
and assistance, like you will reach the stars, but you have to make sure that your inner circle is absolutely pristine. And that's
Yeah.
anyone in your life, anyone that you hang around, anyone that is within your realm of reality, they have to be people that you want to be like. So I
Yeah.
just, that was my motto for, I mean, for the longest, for at least a decade.
Yeah, that's smart. So like you've spent most of your career in personal injury, right? So like why personal injury?
Honestly, it's kind of like I fell into it. So the first legal job that I had was doing this, and I caught on quick. I learned the ins and out of the industry. But during my younger years, I found more of an interest with criminal defense. So I worked at the criminal defense clinic in law school, and I also had a job doing criminal work basically in law school as well as a legal intern on a pretty big case. And I realized that, um, like the day-to-day operational aspect of being a criminal defense attorney wasn't as appealing to me as being a personal injury attorney. So, for example,
Gotcha.
my clients are injured and they need help, and I'm here to help them as opposed to a different type of scenario, criminal. So I really enjoy helping my clients. Like when they call and they need help and they have no idea what to do, it's like I stop everything and we focus. We super give the client all of the attention that they need to feel better. And the moment that we just give them the service that they deserve, it's like you feel that they're calm on the phone, and
Yeah,
you feel that sense of relief. And to me, that's all of it. And
that's awesome.
especially when you settle their case, and instead of charging them, I'm able to give them some sort of compensation for the work that we did for them. It's
Right.
just the best.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you're getting these people at such a vulnerable time in their lives that it is important to have that empathy that you obviously put on display. What advice would you give to somebody who wants to be a personal injury lawyer?
I definitely just start meeting people. Research local events that are being held. There's so many different events with either personal injury firms or your local bar association, but definitely put yourself out there and meet the right people. That way you can talk to an injury attorney, see what their day is like, see what how much money they make, how many cases that they have. If that's something that interests you, don't be afraid to ask those questions, because the reality is that they probably want to answer those questions. They want to teach. A lot of people that are successful in their craft have a desire to mentor or be there for younger people. So it's just
Totally. Yeah, I think that that's accurate. So like let's talk about like leading up to the launch of your own firm because obviously you're running Ant Law Firm. I think you've how long have you been in business?
so we're pretty new. We started in January 6th, 2023.
Wow,
Like,
congratulations. As of this recording, that's like about 2.5 months.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
But I do before we talk about that more, I want to ask because you have great experience. I mean, you had your certified legal intern, which is pretty cool, right? Paralegal experience for 8 years, and you know how much everybody like. You always hear how people rely on their paralegals. So obviously, you were to do that for 8 years. You were doing something right, right? So you also worked at Morgan and Morgan, big
Yes.
firm, right? That's like
Yeah.
the biggest PI firm in
Yeah.
America, and I think a lot of people are when they talk about it, they're proud to have worked there. I mean, I think it is a good, a solid place. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, I had a blast working there. So it was my first job as an attorney out of law school. And once again, my relationships essentially were able to help me get that job because at the time they weren't hiring any younger attorneys. So remember when I worked there, I was the youngest attorney in the entire organization. And
Wow.
it was incredibly overwhelming, but it I got so much experience from that job. I mean, I was trying cases, sometimes 2 or 3 cases a month. Uh,
Okay.
I was nonstop litigating, but it really gave me the courage to say, okay, if I have my own firm, litigation and as far as the law goes, I'm good to go. Now we just need to figure out the business.
The
So
business side of it. Yeah. Is it like, so they get like really big cases and they do a lot of volume. When you start a law firm, is it sort of not frustrating, but is it difficult to see like, man, like, how come I'm not like pulling in all the cases that like are getting referred to like Morgan and Morgan?
yes, yeah. So it's funny because being an attorney at Morgan and Morgan, is completely different than being an attorney for yourself. So
Yeah.
it's almost like, especially here in Orlando. So John Morgan's his first office was here in Orlando, the office that I was working at. And so, we kind of have a reputation here. So we are treated much differently than the sole practitioners. But my niche was that I was always able to bring in clients to Morgan. And I was bringing in clients so much that at one point, I sat at my desk and I'm like, man, if I just had less cases to work, I could probably get way more clients and make way more money.
So like, do you get a piece of that at Morgan or what? Like you bring in the, yeah,
They do. They
yeah.
have a
But
program.
so you were bringing them in, and this is just because, like, maybe it goes back to what we were talking about with like your law school. Like you're a community person. You've been out there, so people know you. They come to Alexandra, right?
Yes. And so I'm bringing in these cases, they're coming in. And so I'm working them, I'm settling them. And then at the end of the month, I'm looking at the closing statements and I'm like, man, this has been my dream to
Yeah.
have my own law firm. I think I can do this a lot sooner than I think. So I quit, and we made it happen. I just started working on my relationships, started from zero. And now my firm has been open not even 2 months, a little over 2 months. And
Amazing.
I've exceeded all of the projections that I thought that I had
Wow.
to meet. So we're doing better than I ever thought.
Do you take clients with you from where you were before?
I
Okay.
did. It was a few,
Yep.
but I've always had faith that I've been confident and I've been good at bringing business in. So that's where I'm great at. So right now, what I like to just tell people that ask me or that want advice, I picture myself as a professional promoter.
Okay.
It's like 24/7 I'm promoting. And I actually picked that up from John Morgan.
Okay.
In his book, he'll talk about, and he would tell us a lot, the attorneys, you better not go anywhere without a business card. You
Yeah.
have to go and you have to be ready to sell your firm. You have to go and talk. You have to talk to every single person. If you're in an elevator, you have to talk to that person.
Yeah.
How their day is, acknowledge them, and you might realize that they might need a lawyer, or they may need you in the future, or you might need them.
Did he want you doing that as an attorney at his firm, or just that was just sort of general advice? Okay.
You would, but when you're an attorney, you're so busy. You have all of these cases. You don't have time to really focus on marketing and putting yourself out there.
Right. So, Alexandra,
Yes.
tell us when you knew you were ready to launch your own firm.
I don't know
Okay.
exactly. I've had this calling for at least, oh my God, for at least 8 years that I wanted to have my own law firm.
Yeah.
And it's almost as if the universe aligned and everything fell into place. And I had just calls coming in like crazy at a certain point in time that they wanted me to hire me. And I'm like, okay, let me just go for it. I started my LLC, or I started
Yep.
my PA January 6th. We started getting everything rolling and the calls have been coming in like crazy. So essentially,
Awesome.
we're doing exactly what I've been doing, but for myself right now. And it's been amazing so far.
Do you think there's something to be said, or tell us like what's to be said for being? I know we sort of have a theme of community going and like outreach and like networking, but being in the place that you were born and raised in the same area, right? That you're working in. So like, what's it like to be able to help the people that where you're from? Like, have you had people approach you from like high school or what's
Right.
that like? I think that would be amazing actually to be able to go back to where you're from and just like assist people in need.
It's been huge. And I have to say that that's been one of the reasons why I've been getting so many cases, because I'm so dialed into the community here. But also there's a pretty large Hispanic community here in Orlando, and it's growing like crazy. And the issue is that a lot of these clients, they want to speak to their attorney in the language that they speak. So, if there's a paralegal that speaks Spanish, sometimes they just want the lawyer to speak Spanish. So I take the time and I provide the legal service that they need. So every single person in my firm, they're all bilingual. And it wasn't planned, it just has happened like that. But
Hmm.
it's extremely helpful because we're able to provide immediate care, A plus care to these clients the care that they deserve and language that they understand. So that's been huge for me. And again, my mom, she's a radio host personality for Hispanic radio.
Nice.
So we're so connected with the Hispanic community here.
That's awesome. So you've been open for like since the beginning of the year. Like, what
Yeah.
is the composition of your firm? You have people working for you already?
I grew so fast
Wow.
that I couldn't keep up with the work, and I didn't want to turn any of these clients down. So I had to hire someone quickly. I have a marketer, a receptionist. I mean, like I said, we're growing beyond anything I've ever
Wow.
imagined.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. And I do want to talk about I should have brought this up earlier, but I'm a New England Patriots fan. Like I'm a New England guy, so I'm like a huge Celtics fan. Not so
Yeah.
much Red Sox, no, more of like a New York baseball fan. But anyway, so um, you worked on with Jose Baez on the Aaron Hernandez case. Like he was a Patriot, and do you want to just like comment on that a little bit? I've heard some stuff, and let me tell you how I've heard some stuff because this is so random, but I played on a softball team in Central Mass
Oh,
with
wow.
guys who worked at the prison where he was being held. And I'll
Wow.
tell you more about that offline if you want to hear it. But tell me about that because I know who Jose Baez from the news and like obviously Aaron Hernandez and like what was it like working on a high profile case like that?
One, it was like my dream. But two, when the Casey Anthony trial came out, I was just starting my legal career. So I mean, I saw every single day of the trial. I was so invested. And I remember I like emailed Jose back. I'm like 18 years old, no experience. I emailed him.
Okay.
I'm like, hey, I'm just like watching this trial and I think it's so cool. And I want to be a lawyer when I grow up. Can I work at your office? Of course, he never replied, but
But
the
that's
fun
awesome. Like I love that. That's so
I sent
cool.
him a screenshot of that email like last month, and I'm like, look what I just found.
Oh, that's amazing.
But working on the case was huge. So I was a 2L in law school.
Yep.
The office was based in Miami, and my school was in Orlando. So on the weekends and on the weekdays, I would literally drive to Miami to go meet with the team and then drive back to work. I mean,
Wow.
drive back to school. So I remember at the time I had like a really crappy car because I couldn't afford really.
Yeah.
I would have to
Kids.
literally like rent a car
Yeah.
to go drive to my meetings in Miami to make it happen. But like,
How'd
I
you
mean,
get your work, like your law school work done too? Like, did somebody read to you like on your way back up to Orlando? Is that
I don't know. I've been really good with academics, thank
that's
God.
crazy? But it's crazy to think about the things we do just to like try to
Yeah.
become successful. And I think that speaks to your character that you would like rent a car because you were in such a cool situation where you got to work on this very well known case. So tell us about the meetings, like the whole defense.
Of that case.
Or you don't have to tell us about the defense, but just tell us about the experience. How about that?
It was great. So, I remember when I first started, I was so intimidated because I didn't think that I had what it took to work on a case like that. You don't have the confidence, you've never done it before. And so I get there, and basically we had to just listen to the different depositions and try to find inconsistencies. We're basically working up the case for trial. And then when trial came, Jose and the attorneys, they had everything lined up, and we were kind of like behind the scenes doing jury research because jury selection took a while. So we didn't have like a jury selection team. The jury selection team was the interns. So it was about me and 4 or 5 other interns. And I mean, we would work tirelessly day and night on this case, sometimes even talking to Aaron on the phone. He would call just to chat because
Yeah.
he had money to call people. But it was a really great experience, and getting him, he was acquitted on the case that we worked on. So we were so hopeful
Wow.
somehow we could get him out and overturn the first conviction. And then we found out that he killed himself one morning, or that's what the media put out there. So
Mm.
it was definitely a memorable experience. But that also led me to do different work with Jose Baez. So I worked a lot in their Orlando office while they were in Miami. So
Okay. And you're still friendly with him?
Yeah, yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's really cool. So tell us more about the Ant Law Firm and what you're doing now, like what cases you're taking.
Yeah. So I started Ant Law Firm was a dream I've had, like I said, probably for about a decade now. And it's what we do is primarily what I've done for the past 12 years. So I handle car accident cases, we do slip and falls, trucking accidents, motorcycle accidents, pedestrians, anything injury related. And it's been going well. So we initially started taking on probate cases, wills, trusts, estates, but that sector, our capacity of those cases were pretty maxed out. So right now we're focusing on auto injury, which is kind of
Okay,
what we do best.
gotcha. So I read that you have a passion for business and law. So like, what does that mean to you? Like the passion. I know you've sort of like talked about your passion and like the dream, and it's like a dream come true. And but is there a different like sort of meaning for business and the passion of business and law?
I truly enjoy business. So I enjoy running the law firm. I enjoy making sure people have what they need in order to produce, in order to try a case. That's why I was a paralegal for so long, because I enjoyed providing the attorney with what they needed to get it done. So I think
Yep.
that translates into business ownership. You on a day to day, you make sure that the business can operate, but you're also making sure that your employees have what they need to achieve the results needed.
Right, right.
So over 12 years of working at these different firms and seeing what different attorneys and staff members needed, it's like now what I'm doing is exactly what I've been dreamed of doing, which is making sure that our clients are receiving top-notch care quickly. So we're extremely efficient. I have super airtight systems. So the moment our
Awesome.
clients call us, they immediately get connected to me. So that's the first phone call. And then we have a pretty good system. So they're established like within the first few hours. And it
Wow.
doesn't matter what time of the day.
Yeah,
So
systems are like so important. I mean, I talk to a lot of attorneys, and this is something that I've learned about systems. Like, give us an example. Like, tell us more about systems. You
sure.
said that
So
the person is transferred to you, so you could probably figure out like what's going on with the case or whatever. But like, if you have any examples of systems, that'd be awesome.
yeah. So the moment that a client connects with us, the first call is always with me. But the system from that point forward is that we basically input all of their information into a system, a platform that we use. And then from there, automatically they get connected to a doctor if that's what they need. They get connected to getting their claims opened up. It's so streamlined that we're able to make it happen. Before what would take 2 or 3 days, I'm
Yep.
able to do an hour
Wow.
using the right technology and not only creating your systems, but perfecting them every week and making sure they're running efficiently as possible continuously. Because technology changes, the law changes, systems change, so many things change. So we have to make sure that we're up to speed. So that's like what I spend a lot of my time doing, that and marketing and networking.
That's amazing. And speaking of networking, one thing that we want to do here at Lawyer Stories is connect lawyers to lawyers and, kind of fill that void and do like warm introductions. So like eventually they can turn into like maybe a referral source and people. So I'd be happy to give you any like warm introductions to anybody you see that I might know personally on or well through Instagram or Facebook on social media. Like I would love to do that. So
Thank you.
like I would, it'd be my pleasure. So like let me know if you see anybody that would be like a good fit or that you would like to connect with. I know it sounds like you have a pretty good thing going on with your community, but I'm always up for doing stuff like that. I love to do that, and that's what
The more the merrier, so I appreciate it.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So how speaking of that, like how have you been getting a lot of your leads? Do you have any tips on like how to get leads for a firm?
So, before I go into that, I admire John Morgan and how he markets
Yep.
because I've been out in Orlando. I mean, I was born and raised here in Orlando, and there were times where I would run into him. I mean, even at a bar, and he would just the first thing he'll say is like, hey, let's take a shot, but also follow Morgan and Morgan on Instagram and follow hashtag this and that. And it's like, man, this guy's working 24/7,
Yeah. Oh
even
yeah.
fun. So I have that same mentality.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm out at a party or something, I'm networking.
Yeah.
And so not only that, but if you have that mentality, it opens different avenues of just meeting people and getting connected and putting yourself out there. So I think it's worked for me so far. I haven't needed to use any like lead generation
Yep.
companies or third party companies to help me out.
Yep.
To say that I may not in the future, I may need it in the future. Um, just marketing
Yeah.
24/7.
Mark 24/7. I know, like when you're proud of something, you want to tell people about it, like I feel that 100%, like yeah, it's crazy. Like you'd go from, you know, being somebody who would talk about something else to, hey, follow us on Instagram. It's like I get it. Like I feel that. Give us some advice for somebody. I don't think we've done this, but give me some advice for somebody who wants to is ready to launch their firm.
Like I said, I know I said it before a couple of times, but your network is your net worth, and your inner circle is going to either take you far or it's going to drag you back. And so I've had to reevaluate who is in my inner circle. I mean, a lot more often than you'd think. Like,
Mm.
hey, this person is a really good person, but they're not going to help me get to the next level. And I
But
think
you're
that
out of here.
well, maybe not inner circles level, maybe outer
Okay.
circle. But I mean, you don't take advice from someone that
Dinner? I don't want to go get dinner. We got to talk about business. Get out of here. Right? Is that how it works? Sort of.
basically.
No, I'm
No.
just kidding. All right, I get
No,
it.
but you have to like protect who who you're around.
Yes.
Energy is
Yes.
so important. And so
Yes.
that's just like what I live by. And also meeting people and looking up to the right people, reach out to them. If there's someone on Instagram or at a firm or at a business that you admire and you want to talk to, make it happen. There's nothing to be afraid of. What's the worst that could happen is someone is going to say no. But
Totally.
at least you're putting yourself out there and you're getting comfortable with the rejection. So a lot of now that my business has been open a little over 2 months, it hasn't been peaches and butterflies. I've had to deal with a little bit of rejection here and there. And part of it is just becoming comfortable with this rejection and putting myself out there the very next moment, the very next day, just trying again. And that's fun. So it's
Yeah,
like,
it is fun. But I'm still stuck on peaches and butterflies. I've never really heard that
well,
analogy.
you did
No,
that.
but that I hear you. It is fun. I think you definitely love the marketing and the business side of it, and you know that when it comes down to it, I think like eventually you'll be able to probably do most of just that, right? And like hire some attorneys, and then you go out and like be the rainmaker, I guess, and now you're sort of doing a lot of it, but
That's
um,
the
it's good stuff. So like, what's your everyday like? I mean, are you in court? Are you settling cases? I know you're on the phone, like doing the intake a little bit, getting people set up through your systems.
yeah. So, so I have a son. I have him half of the time. We co-parent him and his dad and I. And so the days that I don't have him, I'm up at 5 a.m. I'm working out. Working out is essential no matter what. But the days that I don't have my son, I start off my day working out. I'll send some emails from the gym. So in between sets, I'm on my email where I'm getting ready for the day. And I think like the first hour of my day is essential for what I have to follow. When I give myself that time to just get ready mentally, the rest of my day is so much more smooth. So, like my routine, the first hour is huge.
Mhm.
And then, if I have my son, I'll take him to daycare and then I'll go work out or I'll accommodate my day. But I usually make sure that I have one networking either lunch or dinner every single day. And then if I don't have my son, the days that I don't, I'll have a networking lunch and a networking dinner. So I'm pretty like I'm pretty
Wow.
good with what I'm doing. I know.
Yeah, that's a lot.
but it yields results. So I've talked to attorneys in the past where they're like, why do you do that? You're not gonna, those attorneys aren't gonna send you any clients, or that person isn't gonna do anything for you. But just going in with that mentality is not going to get you anywhere. So I just follow my instinct. I meet with whoever I need to, and it just opens up my network, and I get clients, and I'm able to help people. In exchange, people are able to help me too. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's great to, if nothing else, it's great to meet somebody you never know, like down the road either. Um,
yeah.
so you're taking mostly car cases right now, or okay.
Car accidents, slip and falls, pedestrian accidents, motorcycle accidents, anything where someone is injured as a result of someone else's negligence is something that we handle. So right now we have most of our cases, because my firm is so new, most of our cases are in pre-suit. We may have some going into litigation.
Okay. Do you take all that? You do all that. You take them to court, and yep.
Yep.
Amazing. So, I know you mentioned there were some books. I don't know if you want to talk about the books that you
Yeah.
like refer to like a little bit, or like gave you some inspiration.
So one of the books is You Can't Teach Hungry. Have you read that one?
No.
It's like John Morgan. He wrote it like 20
Oh,
years ago.
I've heard of it. Yeah, I've heard of that one though, John.
Yeah. And I remember, okay, so one of my favorite lines from the books is like, if you don't drink, then I don't trust you.
Nice.
And I thought,
Really? I have to look at that. That's interesting.
yeah, if you don't drink, then I don't trust you. But I asked him about that when I was working at Morgan. I'm like, well, I have to ask you, like, what do you mean if you don't drink, I don't trust you? Because I know tons of people that don't drink and they're super trustworthy. And he's like, well, back then I could say that. Now I can't say that. But back
Yeah.
then that's how I felt, and that's why I put it in there. And I'm like, okay.
How old is the book?
Honestly, I want to say it's like almost 20 years old. Like
Oh,
it's
okay. All right.
older
Which
book.
isn't actually that old. I used to think 20 years was a long time ago, and it's not.
I
Okay, so
Insightful though, because it basically gives you like a step-by-step guide on how to build your multi-million-dollar law firm.
wow.
And so I read it like in an hour or two. It's a small book, but I was so inspired. And I remember when I finished that book, I was like, I need to work for him, and I want to be like him.
Yeah.
I need to be a part of that.
Mhm.
He was it, and it the vision was, you know, you can't teach hungry. This grit that you have, like this desire to help people and move the dial, you can't teach that. It has to be in you. And I felt like, now I'm hungry.
Yeah,
I feel that hunger. So it's relatable.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hungry like the Wolf. That's like
Yeah.
an 80s song. All right. I'll probably cut that out of the podcast. That was absolutely ridiculous. Um, okay. So any other book or any
Yeah.
okay.
There's another book called Vivid Vision. It's a book for CEOs, but I would highly recommend for law firm owners
Okay.
because it helps you have more, not like a corporate approach, but more of like a systematic approach to your business. Lawyers, we focus so much on the art of law, and we focus on, this is what's right and what's wrong. But when you're running a business, you have to kind of look at things differently. You have to have a
Right.
different. So, Vivid Vision is a book for CEOs to visualize where they want their company to be within 3 years or 5 years. And basically, you type up this plan about your company of where it's going to be in 3 years, but you share it. You share it to everyone in your organization, you share it to your family members and friends. That way, whenever you are creating and building your business, you're holding yourself accountable. And everyone that you shared your vivid vision with, they're holding you accountable,
That's
and they're
interesting.
excited about it too. Like they're excited about the vision of the company.
Wow.
And so use that vivid vision now when I'm hiring people. I say, like, listen, I'm a startup, but this is my vivid vision, and we're on track. Not only are we on track, we're exceeding these projections that I had. So, like,
Wow. Yeah.
on board or are you not? And so it's like,
That's
once they read it, they're like, I'm on board.
that's awesome. That
Yeah.
you're a smart young lady. That's interesting. So you're like manifesting it and getting people on board, and then they sort of hold you accountable a little bit.
Yep.
Okay, got it. So did we leave anything out? Like, is there any other advice or anything that I've missed tonight? I know we covered a good amount, I think, right?
Yeah, I think we did. Did we leave any? I think we're good. I think you're a pretty good host, I have to say. You're
Oh, thank
very
you.
good at like feeling great questions. It's been
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you very much. Well, we appreciate you coming on, and I hope we covered everything. Alexandra Tosado, Ant Law in Orlando.
Yep.
Stay right there. And everybody else, thanks for tuning in. Wherever you are in the world today, enjoy yourselves.